Right, okay, so yeah, so a bit more information about New Commonwealth, be handy. So New Commonwealth is the capital of the Commonwealth. Popular, so it's a hot planet, so it's on the inner edge of the life zone. But the temperatures aren't sort of like super hot. If I can find out from the chart I was given what this one means here. So the star is M4V. So it's an M type, which is the coolest type of star. A 4, which means it's sort of middle, and the size V, which is the main sequence star sizes. So the temperatures for your planet, they range anywhere between 31 Celsius to 80 degrees Celsius. There is a lot of cloud on the planet. It's typically a tri-planet, but there's a whole lot of subsurface aquifers, ocean sort of thing, which is where all the water is, considering it's got a 7 for hydro graphics. There are roughly 7 million people on the planet. It's a participating democracy, and all of those people who have light assault weapons and submachine guns, sorry, you can't use them on this planet. So you over there with the ACR, yeah. Tut is all I can say. It's 1 G gravity, 1.1 atmospheric pressure at sea level. It has 2 really small minor moons. The tech level is B, which is quite high. There's only, say, Sol, which is a tech level C, and then you've got the research stations, which might be above it a little bit. It has what is called, if I can find the name, okay, the Near Space Frontier Service, which is similar to Scouts, if you like. So it has one of those. It has its own Navy base. There is 2 gas giants present in the system. The planet itself is qualifies as an agricultural, garden, high-tech, non-industrial, rich planet. There's 1 asteroid belt, so the order it goes is the main sequence star, the asteroid belt, then New Commonwealth, then the smaller of the 2 gas giants called Rhea, then Calcutta, which is a small icy rocky planet, more ice than rock, and then the Titanicus, which is the large gas giant in the system. So that's in a nutshell. I'll write this up a bit more, but that's in a nutshell what New Commonwealth is like. It has an A starport, so it does service the jump ships, and at the moment the highest commercially available and known about jump is a Jump 2. The year we are in is 2412. Haven't decided yet. Let's call it day, because they'll all have the same calendars. Let's call it the 29th of the 12th, 2412. So I'll just put that date somewhere so I know what I'm talking about when I say it later on. 29th of the 12th, 2412. Cool. You have probably been newly mustered out of your services or whatever your careers were, and you've ended up in your Commonwealth. And okay, you're on one of several of the major cities. This one's called Wellington, and the population of Wellington is 1.6 million people.
1.6?
Yep, 1.6 million out of 7 million on the planet. So it's one of the big ones. There's a couple of big cities, and then there's it's the capital. It shows off all the high, it's a hive of fashion and industry and technology and all that sort of stuff. It's also where New Commonwealth, the Commonwealth, as I should say, the government resides. It's been, so in recent history, it's been about 4 years since the war for WISE 08560714 begun, which is like 2 jumps away from you. The war ended, as I said, about 4 or 5 years ago, with the discovery of the native sentient race, the Hup Mohatoasha, and since then the Commonwealth have been trying to facilitate an exchange of culture and understanding. What is known is that this race seemed to appear out of nowhere. It would seem that the race, something happens on this planet that they can't explain, but it's almost like a hyper evolution. So the grandparents, depending on how evolution happens, sometimes are totally almost like there's no interaction between them and the grandchildren, to say, because they've just evolved completely differently. Something weird causes that, and there's still a lot of study, because the planet itself actually orbits a brown star, a gas giant that didn't quite make it to a star status. So there's some weird radiation and all sorts of other bits and pieces. So relations are really weird with them, because there's so many different evolutionary varieties of the race, the intelligent race. So yeah, that's one of the big things there. There's still some talk about the Brem. The Brem are from way up the arm. It's a race that was discovered around about, would be close to about 18 years ago. They're sort of insect-like. but humanoid. But they have what humans would consider a set of legs and two sets of arms. Also, one set is very, very small. And this was the race that almost blew themselves into extinction. Um, so they blew their planet apart and all that sort of stuff. So the humans have the TGU, or the Trinary Governmental Union, has created the Interspecies Relationships Office, and they have established an ambassador there, and they've been sending aid along that arm. They've created an artificial centre, if you like. It's a very, very large station that's in orbit where the planet used to be, and they're just basically going to be trying to continue to rebuild the planet that way. Many of the various bits and pieces of the planet themselves have small colonies on them, burrowed into the rock. And the only other thing from your arm, anyway, it's still ongoing. That's about 45 years ago, is the Vash. So the Commonwealth investigated all the way over to what's called 61 Cygni, which is Varusa, which is a race of mammalians that vaguely resemble humanoids. They seem to have a fairly high level, or they seem to have had at one stage a very high level of technology, but for whatever reason, which they haven't yet revealed, or might not want to reveal, they've sort of they're capable of jump 1 and jump 2 and all that sort of stuff, and they have some quite advanced technology. But the most distinguishing thing about them is that they have an imposing set of mandibles where their mouth is, and it's like quite disconcerting. So although they're mammalian, they look a bit like monsters. That's really about it at the moment for No in Space for you guys. But if you've got the OneNote open, you'll see all of that, or you can see it in the book anyway, in the thing here. So you guys are over here on New Commonwealth. Varusha is over here, and the Hapmu Shah is over to your left, a couple of jumps away. Relationships with the other two main governments, if you like, or organisations in the Trinary Governmental Union. The Asiatic League, there's always a form of competition with them. And Seoul, there is sort of a slightly want to get out from under their thumb, slight distrust, slight reliance on Seoul, because it was the home planet and all that sort of stuff. But it's a interesting, conflicting sort of role it takes in while you're still considered colonists by the Seoul people, but you yourselves feel that you're this new, human branch, the new Commonwealth. So it leads to some interesting interactions, shall we say. The two primary peoples that are left on Seoul is the African Parliament and the Nordic Cross. While many of the other territories and nations sort of still exist, some of them don't hold as much sway in government as they used to, and these other two nations are the sort of the primary movers and shakers of Seoul. Yeah, that's about the situation you're sort of in at the moment. And you're basically out on your butts looking for some sort of employment. So it's a cracking day for New Commonwealth. It's around about getting up to about 40 degrees Celsius. Another nice warm day. It's forecast to get up to around about 46, 47. So you're getting the usual holovid reminders of make sure you're putting your sunscreen or wear UV filtering clothing and da 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 this and da 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 that. New Commonwealth does have its own set of flora and fauna. Most of it, because New Commonwealth's been around for about, I think, 100 or close to 200 years, so you sort of got a good knowledge of what's what around that, so there's not much in the way of surprises there. I haven't really worked on them yet, but there's going to be a couple of big predators, a couple of very large creatures, most probably that exist in the subterranean oceans. Yeah, that's about it. Most life actually exists below ground anyway. It's only you humans that have popped up above ground. And you've created some habitable zones above ground. Yeah, so that's about it really. So the rest is up to you guys.
Alright. Well, that means we need to find someone to hire us for a job.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know, but I see on the holovids they always go to like Startown and find some shady guy, and he gives them money to do something cool. So we should probably do something like that. What do you think?
Yeah, you might think that works that way.
Well, yeah, Ostrom definitely thinks
I,
it works that way.
I have a character who, by the rules here, would just be a 28-year-old and only went through two different terms of things. So
Yep.
I don't know if I'm marketable in a world of forced educated.
If you have any skills on a level 1 or above, you've got marketable skills.
Okay. Let me. What's your character's name, Mantar?
So, Ostrom. Ostrom Aitkiv. He's big and blonde and not very bright.
He's what you hit doors with.
Yeah,
If you want to break the door open.
Yeah.
Just gonna put my name on it there.
Yeah. Donovan, cool.
No mellow yellow jokes.
Ah, I would go for a Season of the Witch joke or something.
Yep. So, heading over to so we are going to leave some of the old traveller terms aside. So your star town would be like the port downport sort of thing. So in all that sort of sense, it's okay. So this is an A starport. It has the facilities of an A starport, which means it can repair, it can build starships. It's a hub of commercial activity. You go through the starport, passing through security. It's not much of an issue. You are natives of New Commonwealth, so that pretty much guarantees you access to almost everywhere on New Commonwealth. And in certain circumstances, you've heard that it does ease your movement through the other planets on this arm. Conversely, it makes your travel through any Asiatic League space a little bit more difficult. So where do you want to head once you're in the Star Town? Are you wanting to hit bars? Are you want to hit commercial centres? Are you trying to hit employment brokers? What sort of thing are you looking for?
Well, Ostrom is ready to just go to the bars because that's what they do in the holovids.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he's pretty sure that's how it works because they wouldn't be allowed to put that on the holovid if it was false, right?
Right. So Ostrom doesn't really understand the idea of entertainment, but that's good. That's okay.
He's kind of got the he kind of understands that it's a story, but they couldn't just put lies on there, so
No, that's right. It has to be
somebody
based
would
on
stop them.
something. Yeah, exactly. It's got to be based
Yeah.
on something. Okay, so Donovan, you see this walking wall of muscle, and think now if this walking wall of muscle gets drunk, there's probably going to be an altercation. Probably.
Yes, quite possibly.
Mm, just saying.
Oh, is he legally allowed to walk around with his broadsword?
Um, you are allowed to walk around in New Commonwealth up to a law level of 4, which is your broadsword. Inside a starport, it is usually considered bad etiquette to have any display of weapons. So probably they would ask you to either put it in some sort of bag, or because the only people who would need to display weapons here are security
Yeah.
or people of like nobility who have
Ceremonial.
a ceremonial duty to deck themselves out in certain ways. So it would be considered. So nothing wrong with you hiding a small gun or a dagger. That's not a problem. It's actually just the showing of arms is considered bad etiquette.
Yeah. He would hand it over to security or whatever.
They
Maybe be a
don't.
little
Yeah,
sad.
they don't want it. They're not going to look after it. They just direct you to a place where you can buy a zip-up bag that puts it over. And you put that over your shoulder.
Ah, oh yeah.
Lots of people are carrying these things around, so there's weapons all over the place.
All right.
Yeah, you can easily see that.
Fine
But
with that.
yeah, so you would say they charge you two credits for that thing. Um, so what do you wish to do? Are you heading towards a bar?
Well, unless Donovan says otherwise, then yeah, that's where Ostrom's gonna
Have we
go.
met already?
Okay.
I'm having a lot of trouble trying to open up a OneNote thing. I may have erased the file you put down about
Eep.
notes here. It wants me to subscribe to what is it, Office 365?
Ugh, no, it's all garbage.
Nonsense. I should just get the reader.
Yeah,
And I may have altered the file contents by mistake. I don't know.
that's okay. I'll have a look.
I think I should go to the bar, maybe formally meet and bond with this wall of muscle, over drinks.
Yep.
We were full of mustering out cash, so cash is not a problem for now.
For now, okay. So, they're in the bar. There's sort of 4 or 5 different types of people in these bars. So you got the workers. That's obvious. You've got the workers in the bar. You've got the off-duty workers in the starport itself. Then you've got the people who seem to be regulars, either passing through the system or who live in New Commonwealth. Then you've got the tourists who sort of stand out like a sore thumb, and then you've got what can only be described as the easiest marks in the universe, who are tourists but are walking around advertising the fact, who are like totally clueless.
Suckers.
Oh yeah, yep. So depending on what you want to do next is up to you. So there are some easy marks there, but I mean I don't know which way that might go. Or you might want to attend to some regulars that are passing through, or some regulars who just call, for whatever reason they call here to drink, or somebody who's off duty who works in the starport.
Well,
It's not a particularly full bar at the moment. No, this is Gecko's, by the way. just called geckos. It's decked out in a sort of a reptilian sort of, well, an homage to really bad taste reptilian sort of thing. Everything's fake reptilian leather or fake reptilian print, or and they've got what are supposed to be stuffed reptiles and a couple of live ones in small cages.
Okay, yeah, Ostrom was probably walking straight up to the bartender and got distracted by the lizards in the cages, and now he's just trying to poke at the cage a bit.
Okay, well, the barkeep says, I wouldn't do that, son, unless you want to lose the point of your finger. So what'll it be?
Oh, well, let's see. Oh, I remember. Where's like the shady guy who will pay us to do stuff?
The bartender gives you a really sort of stunned look. I think you might have the wrong establishment. We don't have shady folk in here.
Oh, okay.
But if you're looking
Donovan,
for
I
a
think this is our
job,
bar.
you might want to talk to those guys over there. And he points over to a set of guys who are in sort of flight jackets, sort of. They all look, they're all how can I say it? They all look well seasoned. They all have some sort of equipment on them that would suggest they are off a ship.
Are they some service we can tell, like Near Space Frontier Service?
You haven't seen anything on their jackets to identify them as such.
Oh, yes.
But
So
these,
They
yeah,
don't have any military uniform we recognize.
no, they're definitely not from your navy. No, because your navy all have the star, Commonwealth star emblazoned on their uniform. Whereas the near, what is it? What does the near space people have? It's a it's a star with a rocket in the middle, and it's red and yellow. Near Stars Frontier Service. Whereas the Commonwealth is sort of a starburst, golden here, red. Yep. So these guys don't seem to have anything on them. There's about a group of around about 8 of them. They just seem to be talking. Some of them are playing electronic darts. That's about it, really.
Ostrom looks a little bit confused by the conflicting messages from the bartender and looks at Donovan to see what he does.
Okay. So, Donovan, what are you up to?
Okay. Well, let's see. Maybe I should be very plain and direct about it. So I would approach this table of people and say, "Hey, I'm just interested in looking for work. Do you people work with a ship or a company around here?"
Well, you interrupt the two particular people who seem to be in some sort of slightly heated discussion. It's probably a case of one-upmanship about worst day ever on ship sort of thing. And one of them is making the point by swinging around his cybernetic hand. Said, "See that? I lost that." Da 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 da. And then you come in with your comment. The guy just looks you over. Yeah.
Obviously, they're not talking about anything important.
Yeah. So what I need you to do is give me a... So do you have any social standing type skills? Like liaison?
Maybe I did. Let me just check here.
Or carousing?
Not really. I think I'm a blank straight. Admin 0, bribery 0.
Okay.
That's all I've got.
Cool.
Yeah. Austin has carouse 0 and streetwise 1.
Cool.
And a pretty good social standing actually.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Well,
you're a little better than me then.
Yeah. So yeah, and unfortunately, Donovan's got the brains to actually formulate a sentence.
Yeah.
So Donovan, what's your social standing?
6.
That's a -1, I believe.
As a stat, it's a 0.
Oh,
6
0?
to 8 is 0.
Cool. Okay, you're lucky there. Okay, 2d6 roll, and where you go.
Uh-huh.
Eight. Okay. The guy looks a little bit perturbed that you interrupted him when he's making a point. He said, "Look, just sit down. Get to you in a second." And he goes back to his conversation, in quotation marks, to his friend, talking about the worst downboard ship, yada yada yada. No, it's Sid. And he takes them. They exchange for another couple of minutes. G'day, Sid.
Didn't make one.
What's the matter?
No, I don't think I made one for this game.
Oh, okay. So cool. But these two guys are just sort of trying to find jobs for themselves at the moment anyway.
Yeah.
So, yep, so if you want to, you just roll up 2d6, 2 sets of 6.
What are we using, the Cepheus engine?
Yep, it's in the Dropbox under Trinary. Trinary.
Any special rules before I go silent?
If you fail, you add 2 years onto your... Oh no, you die, eh? That's right, yeah, you die.
Yeah.
Yeah, you die.
You either get die or you're horribly injured.
Yep, that's it. So you die in this one, yeah. And what they've chosen is New Commonwealth people, so you could either be from the New Commonwealth or from Sol, but you won't be able to take anybody from the Orient. That's more of just a flavour background thing anyway.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Okay.
I'll go to it then.
Okay. So, Donovan, finally the guy sort of tries to make his point. Then he suddenly looks around at you and says, "Oh, all right, what are you after?"
Well, me and my friend here we're looking for work, and we wondered what ship or company you were with.
He says, "You know, all this talking has made me rather dry."
Aha. All right. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go and snap my fingers and say around for this table.
Alrighty. Okay. Well. Oh, he says, "Well, you certainly know how to ingratiate yourself into the conversation." Well, my friend, we're all just people from different ships. We just run up and down the arm, in the New Commonwealth arm. Jake over there, he's been to Sol. He's even been over to Orient. Poor bugger. But anyway, yeah. So we just work on various ships.
Do you have an employer? Does the employer manage a fleet of ships?
Right. So, well, what qualifications do you come with? They're always looking for people who are good with their hands with ship equipment.
My specialty is in being a medic.
Oh well, another useful, hopefully never have to be used skill though. Yep. What about your rather large friend over there?
Public relations.
Yeah.
He says, "I can see how he would be very useful in public relations, especially if we went over to the Orient space."
I can work a comm system, and I'm okay with mechanics too.
Right. Okay. So what do you lift it while other people repair it or something?
Yeah.
Or you unscrew things with your bare hands or something? That's the sort of job you're looking at.
Yeah.
Rightio. Okay. He says, well, the table the drinks arrive. They just talk around. They say we don't really know of anyone who's hiring anyone for those particular skills. Have you thought of the God? Where am I, Steve? Have you thought of the NSFS?
The what?
The Near Stars Frontier Service.
Oh.
They're always looking for
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
You know, they always get the jams.
Yeah, we could probably do that, right?
Probably.
I've seen their commercials.
Yeah. Well, it says if you go out there on the main concourse, take a left when you leave Gecko's, just carry on and you will find their recruitment office.
All right.
But, and he raises his glass to you, he says, but if we hear anything and we bump into each other and you still haven't got a job, we'll definitely point you in a direction.
So you want to go, Donovan?
For the NSFS, you mean?
Yep.
I don't know. It might be a bit of a tricky work.
Aye.
What the hell? Let's look into that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Is there like a recruitment center?
It's sort of. So you go into it. It's sort of like an info place as well as a not really recruitment, but more of a sort of a testing facility. So there's a middle-aged sort of woman on the front desk. Her name's Aretha, and she sort of looks up at you and says, "Yes, how can I help you?"
We're looking for work.
She says, "Really? Well, at least you're straight to the point. So, tell you what, if I'll set you up in those two kiosks there, if you just go through the multiple choice questions, that might give us a bit of a better idea as to what sort of work you might be more adaptable to, and if we have anything in those sort of positions that we might want to fill."
At the words multiple choice questions, Ostrom looks like a deer in a headlight for a moment.
Yeah.
But then
once she sees that, she'll recognise that. She'll go, okay. Basically, you read several different answers to the questions, and whichever one you think fits best, click on that one.
Oh.
If you have one bucket and your friend gives you another bucket, how many buckets do you have?
Wait, has it started already?
Not yet, she says.
Okay. Good.
All right. Okay. Right. So basically, guys, this is going to be an intelligence. It can either be an intelligence or an education test, whichever is your best stat.
Oh, good.
Cool.
Okay, but what I want you to do is you roll 1d6 plus or minus your bonus, but depending on what your number is, and I roll the other one, and then we'll go from there as to where you're at. Okay, so
right.
Donovan, let's have a look. Radio. And I keep on forgetting his name, sorry.
How do you spell that? Oh, there it is.
Ostrom. Okay, Ostrom. Oops. Sorry. Rightio. Well, They are actually looking for someone with medical skill. What was your skill again, Donovan?
2.
2. Okay. It's a pity you didn't have your surgery ticket, but you got like you come back and she looks at you and says, well, yes, Mr. What's your character's last name? Sorry, Donovan.
Oh, good question. What did I put down? Slayton.
Slayton. Well, Mr. Slayton, yes, very impressive. I think we can certainly find a position for you. And Mr.
Ostrom,
Ostrom Equiv. Yes, Mr. Equiv. There's some possibilities here. We are looking for some people to go and assist in helping our efforts in Arcadia. So Arcadia, that means that you would be part of the helping build up some infrastructure. So for Ostrom, that would probably be back-breaking physical labour, while Donovan got to do a little bit more clinical, sort of keeping everyone healthy and all that sort of stuff.
Ostrom asks if he could take the test again, and
no, it's usually not going to give us a different result.
Yeah, he says he wasn't ready, and he may offer to slip her some money. He's got actual bribery skill.
Okay, this can backfire very badly, but
yeah.
Yeah, take the test again, and I go. Psst, psst. The answer to question 17 was 2 buckets. You get 2 buckets.
Yeah.
So you want to try to bribe her to take the test again?
Yeah, it wasn't. He wasn't ready. The test didn't work right, or something. It needs to be done again. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna roll that.
One of those faulty, fickle computer tests.
Yeah. What is your skill?
1 point in bribery.
Okay. How much are you offering her?
Let's see. Ooh, a whole lot. But let me take a look.
Yeah. So if I'm using old traveler knowledge, around about 650 credits would be what's considered living wage for a month.
Yeah, I think he's gonna offer her 1,000.
1,000. Okay. And what is his social skills?
Oh, he's actually pretty good on that. He's got a 10, so a +1.
+1. Okay, let's see how he goes. I'm going to show you the result. She says, no sir, there's no need for that. I must have misread your numbers. Here, let me adjust them for you.
Okay.
So you're part of, instead of building infrastructure, you're part of maintenance, which means you'll be using your mechanical skill and that sort of stuff, which is a little less dangerous, but yeah. So yeah, that's it. Yeah, with a teaspoon and some tin foil as protection.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. So it looks like if you guys so these jobs are done on a half-yearly contract. So it will take you around about 5 to 6 weeks to get there, and then you start your contract, and then you finish after the end of it. Where you go next is up to you. But the good thing is you'll earn a security clearance in the NSFS, which you can try to improve with whatever you do. Of course, the higher the security clearance, the better the job you can hope to get. So you will start off with a 20, and it gets lower and lower. So the 1 is like the highest you can get to, unless you get to 100 liters, in which case you're one of those shady sort of mythic persons, like if you've ever read Stainless Steel, Rat, Jim DeGriz sort of thing. You know, you're up there with him if you're a letter in the NSFS. But you start off with a 20 security rating, which will immediately change for Donovan. You have a 19 asterisk, which means you have, obviously 19 is better than 20, but the asterisk is a condition, and so the condition is, in the duties of your service, you have the right to be the like the person that can stand a higher ranking officer down on the case of medical issues. You also have access to certain medical equipment, pharmaceuticals and all that sort of stuff to carry your duties. So you get it, that's where your sort of clearance goes. Whereas Ostrom, you've got a 19. You don't have any sort of special things at the moment. So we're going to say that you're going to go through, you've already got the skills. They don't need to train you anymore, but you do, like, for those weeks that you're traveling, you've got an orientation package that you've got to get through, and basically once you've landed on Arcadia, you've got to be able to pass the test to say that you've actually read the orientation stuff and you're ready for working.
Alright.
Yep. So what, if any, are any study skills? Otherwise it's going to again be either an intelligence or an education.
I don't know what you mean by study skills.
Do you have any skills in science? Any sciences?
Well, yeah, I have a space science skill. Does that help me to study it?
Well, to get to like a skill like that, you would have to have done some study, so it assumes that you've got some ability there. New
That's right.
Commonwealth is the homeworld, Sid. And New Commonwealth is similar to Earth, except that it's hot. So it's very much like Australia in the outback. Okay, so both of you can use your highest. So you have any science skills or any like teaching or training skills at all, Mentor, your character?
Ostrom, nothing like that.
Nothing like that.
It's like carousing and streetwise. He more or less partied through college, I imagine.
Right. Okay. Yes, probably. Where are we? Right. You give me some rolls, please, with a bonus, either your intelligence or your wisdom, whichever one. Wisdom, your social, your education, whichever one gives you the best bonus on a 2d6 roll.
Yeah. 7.
Okay, and Donovan?
Oh, same thing.
Yep.
With the intelligence bonus, that's a good roll.
Cool. Okay, so Ostrom, They basically, well, you're ready to go straight to work, Donovan. So they're going to hold you aside for a week, Ostrom, just to make sure that they feel comfortable that you can actually do the jobs that you're going to be given. These things sometimes happen. You know, people go through their systems and yeah, how do we put this nicely? There's no easy way to put it nicely, is it? So
he's as dumb as a box of rocks.
Yeah.
Getting
Is that the official
yeah,
language?
that could be close. Yes. Rightio.
What is Arcadia like environmentally?
Just doing it for you now. So there is a gastron, which is always good to know. There is a planetoid belt. There are, gotta go back to all my little numbers and things. The technology is an A technology, which is not bad. There's only a C starport, so it's a very basic starport, but it's what you've got, which is some of the stuff that you, Ostrom, will be helping keep maintained.
God help those poor people.
Yeah. It's got a lot. So the number of people there's about 5,000 people present on the planet, all doing various jobs. The biggest concentration would be around the starport. There's only a down starport here. There's nothing up above. There's a couple of satellites. So Arcadia as a planet. It's a size 7 planet, which means that it is a little bit smaller than Earth, and gravity likewise is only 0.9, so you are a little bit stronger, if you like. It has an exotic atmosphere. Which means it's I'm going to say the nitrogen quantity is greater than it actually is breathable, livable by humans. So but you need you need breathing apparatus to move around on the planet's surface. There's about 40% surface water, and it's a temperate planet, so a lot of stuff grows. It's a planet of, so if I was to describe the fauna, if you could imagine tall, thin plants, so you can have tall, thin stands of flowers, really tall and thin stands of, have you ever seen lancewood?
No.
No? Okay, it's a tree that grows in New Zealand, and basically it looks like a very emaciated tree because it's got the trunk, and then it's got the branch, and it's just a straight piece that hangs down like a sort of a conical shape to the whole thing, with some very thin leaves, and it just looks like it's a really sick tree in some circumstances. But I think it's lancewood. That sort of the trees here, they'd be, the closest thing would be a conifer, a very thin conifer would be its equivalent from your planet. Other than that, yeah, it's tall grasses. There's not a hell of a lot of ground cover. Everything's sort of thin and tall, and that's just a combination of the gravity and the atmosphere. Wildlife is hazardous. Arcadia has been sort of held, just give me a second, timeline. Arcadia, yeah, it's been around for about 50 years. It's been inhabited by humans for about 50 years. So it's sort of really in the second phase of colonization. So you're just sort of setting up some remote spots for colonists to start landing in and start building on. So there probably is a couple of satellite bases at the poles. That's about it, really. Yeah, Arcadia, not a great place. You're definitely not going to find much in the way of nightlife, apart from the really weird flora and fauna at night, which there's a lot of sort of purplish bioluminescence. The system itself, as I said, it has one gas giant, then that's at the furthest end. It has the planetoid belt, and then it has 3 rocky planets. You're on Arcadia, which is the 3rd rocky planet, and then it's the star itself. So it's a small system, but it's the place where you will get ships jumping off to Altair and Varusha. So there may be a chance to encounter something really weird. So the first week, not much has happened for you. You just become familiar with the team and with your station and the facilities here. This place is just known as Arc 1. The others is there's Arc 2 and Arc 3. That's pretty much all they refer to the places as. 2 is in the northern polar, and 3 of course is the southern. The other interesting thing about Arcadia is that it, like Venus, it rotates clockwise. So the sun comes up in the west and sets in the east, so that takes a bit of getting used to. The day is close enough to say it's a little bit over a normal day, so by about an hour or so, but it's close enough to give you a normal sort of circadian rhythm mostly. The extra hour is your time, not company time, so they have very strict rules on, like, you work for this much time, you have a break, all that sort of stuff. So it's all safety stuff, and your job is first of all is both of you are going to go up to Arc 2 to do some maintenance, and for you to run some medical checks on the people up there. So after the second week, when Ostrom gets cleared, you get flown up to via one of the little it's sort of a hollowed out G carrier, so it's carrying up supplies. It's got a little bit of space for you guys and basically the 2 drivers. It's going to take a couple of hours to get there, several hours. So you're just sitting there. You've got some pads which give you some layouts of, so you've got about 200 people to go through Donovan to have the various checks. Obviously the leader types are going to be the most difficult because they always don't want to have those sort of things. You already understand that anyway, so you're going to have to overcome that. Ostrom, you're going to be checking on most of the mechanical gear. Did you have electronics at all?
Let me check. I think I've just got mechanics. But yeah, no electronics.
Okay. And did you have, now I don't know if the system has a skill called repair or whether it's just included under, you know how in Traveller you get like wheeled vehicles, so ATV or something, and then that just becomes the repair skill as well.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure whether this one has that like that.
Doesn't look like it.
So what yep, looks like it's built into the, so what sort of craft skills do you have?
Let's see, I've got animals, comms, mechanics, recon, and survival. So basically mechanics is probably feel like they would be useful here.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Mechanics cool. Do you have any zeros?
Well, no, those are the zeros basically. Well, except for survival is a 1.
Okay, cool.
Well, he's got 1 in athletics, but that's...
Okay, so your first job will be to check out the comms units as soon as you get there. So you're getting familiar with all the equipment. So there's some comm units. There's a couple of ATVs that they need checked out. There will be the life support systems they'll need checked out, and just the general infrastructure of the buildings checked out. Yep. So all coverable by skills that you have, but you're just going to be busy. As I said, you've got about 200 people, Donovan, to check over, and yeah, that's going to be it. So you're going to probably start with the people who are on base, because there'll be people out in the field as well. So as soon as when they come in, you're going to have to organise to check on them as well. And of course, Osham's going to have to work on checking on the equipment that they bring in with them. So
yeah, is there any special medical conditions and things that happen on this planet?
as long as you're not exposed to the atmosphere without breathing apparatus, you're usually going to be okay, unless you've discovered some new horrible thing that people haven't actually quantified yet.
Yeah, as is often the case with new colonies,
Yeah. Well, as I said, this has only been around for 50 years. These the two separate satellite stations have really only existed for about 5-6 years. So while their immediate area is fairly well known, as they're going to go out, there is the possibility they're going to encounter something. What's the other thing? The other thing is that this planet, its seasons, because of its orbit of the planet, its seasons vary in roughly 5-6 year periods. So to go through a set of seasons that we'd go through in a year would take them about 20 years. To sort of do with how the wobble of the planet and the orbit of the planet and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, about 20 years to go through a whole year's worth of seasons. So I better decide which season you're in at the moment. Okay, you're coming out of winter and you're going into spring. You're right in the end of winter. So things are still up here, particularly, are quite cold. So you can expect temperatures. You can expect temperatures below 0 at night. Temperatures won't get much above 10 degrees Celsius during the day, and that's on a really good day. The other thing, of course, is there's still some of the normal weather patterns that happen. So there are snowstorms, there's blizzards, there are really heavy thunderstorms, which would usually either end in snow or hail. Yeah, so there's a couple of environmental things that still will affect. Oh, the other thing, of course, naturally, is the hail here starts at the size of golf balls, so you don't want to be caught outside in a hailstorm. So and it goes up from there in size. Snow is odd, shall we say, just given the circumstances of the atmosphere. Snow here tends to sit more than normal snow. It doesn't sort of melt or anything like that, it just seems to sit as snow. So you can get these really weird layers of snow on snow on snow, and they can move. Not as ice, but as a some people describe it as like multi-layered quicksand. where some layers will be more thicker packed, so you don't seem to sink into it, and some areas you sink into it a lot more. Yeah.
Okay.
That's about the only thing that you'd really need to know. Obviously, don't, you're going to be given a cold weather clothing kit to wear. You've got your breathers and your rebreather, which is basically a small tank of oxygen. Yeah, that's all given to you. That's not a problem. On the planet, whatever weapon you feel comfortable with, apart from like nuclear weapons and gas and poisons and stuff. But it's a law level 1, so it's of course you are under the NSFS, which means of course you're not going to start shooting each other. You still will be held accountable for murder and all that sort of stuff, but it's just for weapons and stuff you can pretty much get away with anything. Yeah.
What's your planet?
Yeah.
What's out there?
Yep. So you come into the Arc 2, and it's basically an installation on a slight rise. Behind it is a set of mountain ranges. The whole place is covered in snow. There's a pretty good wind whipping around now, because every now and then you can feel the grav vehicle as it's sort of being pushed about a little bit, so you can tell that it's quite a strong wind, quite strong gusts. You're coming in, and you sort of that's your sort of first sight of this building, this stuff. It's a set of structures that look more like a skeletal sort of organisation as opposed to something solid, but you'll get to know what that's all about when you get closer. Yeah, there's obviously there's not much of a activity around. There is a ATV that seems to be moving towards the base, but that's an hour or two out. You'll be long sort of in the base before it even arrives. That's about it really, unless you want to ask for anything other particular. No?
Nope.
Okay. So you come in, the landing is relatively harmless. It's a tiny bit rough, but it's not going to create any injuries or anything. You basically, the side of the G carrier opens up and the atmosphere is exchanged. You should all have your breathers on by now. You're warned to anyway. The back opens up. The cargo it's carrying is taken out. It's replaced in pretty short form with some other samples and stuff. You guys are ushered off. The G carrier starts lifting up, and off it goes. It's all in a matter of like half an hour. You sort of help move some stuff that you're going to need, and or it's extra equipment that you might need, sort of stuff in what you're about to do. And you're looking forward to about a week's worth of activity here up in Arc 2. So you get taken on board. You're met with at the gate with a lieutenant second rank. She's Adrian. I'll give her a last name when I can think of one, but she just says, call me Adrian. That's all cool. We're not too strong on ranks here. It's just whatever gets us through. Avoid, she gives you a list of people. She rattles off. Don't get into a card game with them, because they'll try to take your money. Okay? Just politely decline for now until you get a sense of where you think you are. Apart from that, she sort of shows you how to operate so every now and then you go through, there's a small panel that you log in. She gives you your number, that gives you where you are. It gives you a screen that shows you where you are. She gives you access numbers and stuff to, if you've got a handheld computer, to be able to access whatever you need. She points out on the map where you guys are, so you'll both be bunking down in the same garrison unit. but your work will take you to different places, sort of thing. She takes you to first of all meet the commander, who is a rather plump but wizened looking old lady. Her name is Amanda Keller, and she, as opposed to Adrian, is a little bit more ship shape and all that sort of stuff. So she sort of salutes you, and she seems to expect something back.
Okay, we're salute then.
Yeah.
Okay, alrighty, so it takes her a wee while.
I hope I didn't delay for real.
Yeah, well, yeah, you did, and she sort of gives you a bit of a sour look.
Did I delay game time? Oh no.
Yeah, so she gives you a bit of a sour look. She says, right, so...
We've been taught that saluting stuff.
Yeah, probably, but hey, you're civilians, it's not, you know...
We drilled, didn't they drill us and march us up and down the square?
No, not really. It was all, like, as I said, it was on board ship, so it was mostly reading, not actually doing. Yeah, so, of course, you know, that memory muscle hasn't been built in yet. So Adrian just introduces you as medical officer, second class, forgotten your last name again. God damn it. It's going to take a while.
Yeah.
Slayton.
Should I put it up? I think I should
No,
put it up
that's
in full in the
that's all cool.
display
And
name.
yep, and mechanic, third class equip. And she says, rightio, well, she's got two little pads, electronic pads out there. She says, you can see your names and you see your little record. And says, okay, I can see, yeah, the results of all your tests and stuff. I expect you to be in ship shape form, and that you'll do your job there, everybody. Thank you very much. If you need anything, please talk to Lieutenant, last name here, which I haven't given a name, Luttrell. There you go, Lieutenant Luttrell, Adrian Luttrell. There you go. Yeah, otherwise you're only going to see me if there's something very, very wrong. Good day, gentlemen.
Okay.
Starts to wave and then salutes.
So she raises her eyebrow at your salute as you leave, and you can see that she's tapping something on your thing, Etram. Yeah, I know. Yeah, Ostrom. Sorry, Ostrom. So yeah, so it could get to that. Rightio, so Adrian just says don't worry about her. She's married to the service. God knows anyone would want to marry her anyway, she says under her breath. But anyway, he says he says sort of so she takes you around, she shows you the people, introduces a couple. So she introduces you, first of all, Donovan, to the head medic officer, surgeon, who is a gentleman by the name of Michael O'Hare. He is also one of the ones that she warned you about the card games. So he's a big, huge, strapping lad, big smile on his face, mop of red hair on his head, big, huge hand, takes your hand and shakes it quite vigorously. You know, and he welcomes you. And he himself is quite big, but he looks at God damn it, Ostrom, and he sort of said, my God, where did you come from? Anyway, he says, so he'll take you over, introduce you to a couple of the nurses, mixture of male and females, and basically they start showing you the station you're at, and somehow the conversation talks to games, card games, and Michael says, so would you be interested in a game of cards tonight, perhaps after we've been into the, I don't know, I've forgotten the military term for cafeteria, mess
hall.
The mess hall.
Yeah.
He says, smiling with his disarming smile.
They play that in the mess hall, huh?
Hmm.
Is he on the list of people we were warned about?
Oh, he was at the top. So he's waiting for you to give him some sort of yes, no, maybe, but whatever.
Yeah, Ostrom down.
He is? You got gambling skill?
Not really, but
Damn, boy, you're going to get cleaned out like an old rag.
yeah, he's got streetwise. He's used to this sort of thing in college.
Okay, well, it says I can't wait to play. Okay, so
I say something about not having enough cash. I'm fresh on the job. Not enough cash.
Well, if you change your mind, we're quite happy to take things on tick. And so he moves over doing whatever he's doing. You sort of get used to the station you're at, and one of the nurses helps you. Da 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 da. Ostrom, you get taken out by Adrian over to the basically the motor pool bay sort of thing. There's a couple of ATVs. He said, right, basically we've got 4 vehicles here. 2 are here right now. The Tech 3 team will be coming in shortly. So I suggest you start on Tech 4, go to Tech 2, then 3 when it comes in, because they'll want to take Tech 4 out once they've had their rest. It should take about a day to overhaul it at the most. Yeah, so then after that I'll need you to look at the comms tower, and once you've gone through that, I'll tell you what else we need to look at.
Alrighty.
Right, so they're fairly standard ATVs. The only thing they have been fitted with is they seem to have a really good like atmospheric seal on them. That's, you can tell sort of the sort of military grade, if you like, so as opposed to sort of civilian. So and sort of bang on it, it just seems a bit more robust, if you like. And you notice that there is a socket that you're not sure what it is, but it delivers. It's some sort of electrical outlet. You're not sure because you don't do electronics, but you're guessing it's some sort of really, it would deliver quite a powerful electrical current, the way it's sort of, yeah, so, but you're not sure what it's to anyway, but who knows, for a scanner or something, who knows. Anyway, you start your work on Tech 4. So I just need you to give me your roll for that, your 2d6 plus your skill plus I'm going to say probably education is going to be the thing you're going to need here.
Okay.
So if you've got a good education.
Yeah. There we go.
Okay. Let's have a look.
He's not bright, but he remembers everything he's taught.
Yeah. And you got it over by 2. So okay, so it doesn't take you the whole day. It only takes you 6 hours. You go over it. You with a fine-tooth comb, and you're happy with your work. Everything is working smoothly. As indicated, about half an hour into working on it, you've got this other team that comes in. You're at the moment the only person in the motor pool. You're not sure where the other motor pool guy, because they sort of have another motor pool guy. Perhaps he's out in the other ship. You don't know, the other vehicle. Anyway, they sort of ask, where do you want it? Where do you want us to park?
He looks around and just picks a likely spot and just waves them over there.
Okay, rightio. Well, they get the vehicle over there. They come out. They take out various bits and pieces, containers. You're not sure what it is, but that's their job, not yours. One of the guys comes over to you and says he noticed the rear left servo is seems to be surging, so every now and then it cuts out, so you lose a bit of power there. So you might want to have a look at that.
Alright. I think I can fix that.
Rightio. So you've got a couple of hours spare. What do you want to do with it? Do you want to just check the survey thing now, or do you want to just have a look around the place? What do you want to do?
I'll get that servo thing and see what.
Okay. Well, give me another one of your rolls, please.
Right, there we go.
Okay. Rightio. What you find is you sort of have a look on the outside. Well, you know, you undo all the bits and pieces. You notice that there is a very, very fine groove, if you like, that if it's like two dishpans meeting together where the servo is kept inside, it's sort of along the line of the joint of the two dishpans, so to speak. You get into the servo itself, and there's some sort of organic matter in here. You're not sure what it is. It's a long stringy thing. It's about I don't know, 3 millimeters wide. Just a long, thin, tubey thing. It's got little tufts of something that look like hair. You're not touching it at the moment, but you know, you're just seeing this thing, and it seems to have somehow found its way inside the servo, and that's what's shorting things. It's dead. It's not moving.
Okay. He'll probably find some kind of tool and use it to grip the thing and carefully pull it out.
Okay. You do pull it out, but
needle nose
yep.
pliers.
Yeah, pliers would work. Yeah.
Yep. You get some pliers. You get one end of it. Part of it's still stuck in there. You're actually going to have to take the whole servo to bits, because it looks like somehow, for whatever reason, it's in deep.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to ask the other mechanic about this whenever he shows, whenever I get to see him. Because this is weird. Is there another servo like in spare parts anywhere?
Oh, they've got enough spare parts. It's just having to open this thing up as and when you want to, sort of thing. You know, you can just rip into it and give a new spare part, or you can try to fix this. It's up to you.
Yeah, I think I'd pull the thing out, or pull the servo out and set it aside, and then swap a spare one in.
Okay, that's easy enough.
Try to look into fixing this later, and maybe talk to the other mechanic.
Okay, so you just put it on the workbench somewhere?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Yep, so you easily do that. That's not an issue. And that'll only take you about an hour. So you sort of, you've done a bit of extra work, and you've still got an hour of the day, of your working day, to whatever you want to do.
I think this job is easy. So yeah, he's probably gonna head down to the mess hall and just hang out or something.
Okay.
See if he's down there.
Okay. So there's a few people in there eating, drinking. They do actually are able to consume some alcohol here. Not to the extent of like totally being obliterated, but you know, they seem to have a little bit of leeway. So there's a table there of people that you can ask or talk to, or whatever you want to do. There's a cook and a couple of servers. You just get some food. It all seems to be relatively edible. It's not a whole lot of meals ready to eat sort of stuff.
Alright. I think he sidles up to some guys and kind of introduces himself and sits down to eat, and starts asking them, hey, I was working on this thing and the servo, and there's some kind of worm-like thing inside it, like a organic thing. Any of you guys ever seen that before?
They also look at you. They're all from more other areas, so they're not really sure what do you mean long thing. One guy who's called, he introduced himself as Ethan. He's from comms, so he starts talking to you a little bit about, you know, looking forward to working with you when you get up to his zone. He says, well, don't know. don't know who you could talk to. Yeah, you won't be able to talk to Nate. But,
I've never heard of anything like this.
no, Nate would be your person to talk to, but yeah, she's still recovering in medical.
Okay, well, in that case, Oscar's probably gonna finish up eating quickly and head up to medical and see if I can find Nate.
Okay, well, Nate turns out to be Natalie Brewer, who's the other mechanic fix-it person on board. She apparently was out in the field repairing another one of the ATVs and was attacked by something. They're not quite sure, but she's been put into a bit of an induced coma just to try to help stabilize her.
Well, that's good for...
Yeah, the only thing that so you'd probably run into your friend Donovan there, who's sort of doing some rounds. There's a couple other people who've, like, you know, scuffed their knees and those sort of very, very minor sort of things. Nate's the sort of the most damaged person. She apparently she was out working on one of the ATVs, Tech 1 actually. It's still actually outside. Yeah, something failed on it, and she went out to try to fix it, and because the whole system failed, so she had to go to it. They couldn't bring it in. When she started to take things a bit, something attacked her. They don't know what, but something that probably had some sort of stinger or something, because she has had a whole lot of little holes on her hands and arms. Yeah, and it just seems to have affected her.
That's not good.
No.
Oscar was gonna talk to Donovan about this weird thing that was in the servo. Let him know what's going on. And thinking about some holovids he's seen, he's probably gonna head back down and look at that thing again, and maybe poke it with a stick from a distance. Just make double sure it's dead.
Okay.
Yeah, if Donovan hears about it, he might try to research about, I don't know, the environmental fauna of this place.
Yep. Well, they haven't. As I said, they've only been here about 5 years, and you'd expect them to actually be able to give you some documentation of most of the stuff in there, but it's pretty scarce and hard to find. So they have come across a couple of creatures. There's the sort of something akin to, it's not quite, but it's something akin to like a snow hare. There's several things that are akin to beetles that have been adapted to life in this sort of very cold climate. And a couple of plants, but nothing in the database as yet that would be responsible for the type of injury. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
What can I tell from the case? Like, you know, I can probably read her chart if I'm over at her module where she's kept in that coma.
Well, you have a look at everything. Whatever's happened has affected her metabolism. They pretty much had to flush her system out. There were substances that were toxic to humans in her system, in her bloodstream, in her circulatory system. that they believe entered there via whatever, either injected or bit or whatever it did to her. They basically replaced as much and filtered her blood as much as they can. They've patched up the wound sites and put her into this induced coma just to give her body the best chance to heal. At the moment, she's stable. She was critical at one point, and her body was like, it was going into blood toxicity, sort of poisoning sort of stage. And the prognoses are in about a week's time they're hoping to bring her out of the coma.
Okay.
There's been a little bit of damage to the wound, the flesh around the wound site. It's not necrotic or anything. It's definitely there's been some breaking of the skin. There's been a little bit of damage to, interestingly enough, not the heart, but to the biomechanisms between the exchange between the lungs and the blood. So they are thinking there might have to be some sort of repair work done there once she's had a bit more rest, but they're hoping that her body will recover and repair itself. But that's the only thing they've got. So there's many different diseases that attack the lungs, that attack the circulatory system, or use the circulatory system as its means of conveyance around the body. But there are some diseases you're aware of as a medic. Nothing that would suggest like an animal poison though. They're more viral or bacterial. So while you ponder that a little bit, down at the motor pool, so you've got your pliers, you've got whatever it is in the end of the pliers, and you've got the casing with the oh god, not sensor.
Servo?
Sorry?
Servo?
Servo, yes, sorry, yes, servo.
Yeah.
Sitting there waiting. So the servos here are the ones that actually support the mechanisms that the vehicle uses to travel with. So it's connected to that part of the ship device. So
Jumping, looking at the thing to see if it moves, just in case, while standing back and looking at it suspiciously.
okay, it does move, but usually it's because you're poking at it or shaking it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's inside the servo casing you're not sure of, but just so you know, so the area that the servo comes from is an area that would have an electrical source with, would have vibrational source, and would have some heat source.
Alright. Well, Ostrom is going to try to remove that thing then.
Okay, so
Get
you're gonna.
the rest of it out.
Okay. So carefully you pull the servo apart. Give me. What will you give me? Give me a 1d6. Okay, so you as you're pulling it out, what you find in there is a whole lot of this string thing attached around sort of the core of the servo, and it is moving, and it does sort of immediately it doesn't jump off the servo or anything because it's quite entwined by it, but a part of it sort of straightens and sort of darts sort of towards you, but of course it can't reach you, and you sort of move back anyway because it's too attached, and it starts to unwind itself around the servo.
Okay. That's yeah, that kind of worries me a bit. He's gonna look around and see if there's any kind of bag or anything he can put this thing in to contain it, or a box or something, anything in the vicinity.
Okay, there would be some like spare part container boxes, like, you know, about
that would work.
500 millimeters by around about 300 millimeters by about 10 millimeters, 100 millimeters tall.
All right, if that's big enough to get the servo in there, he'll slap it in the box and try to seal it up tight.
Okay, so you sort of scrape the servo with this thing on it as it's trying to get at you into the box, and then you seal out the box.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Having a look carefully inside the other casing, yeah, there's not much else that you can see apart from you can see a small bit of black on the inside of the casing, probably where something's shorted across. And there's several of these sort of black marks, so it's probably where the servo's lost its power or it's shorted somehow.
Okay. Thinking very, very hard, he comes to the conclusion that we need to electrocute the thing. But he doesn't know anything about electronics, so he's gonna go find Donovan and ask him.
Okay. So as you're still looking, Donovan, for any sort of clues as to what might have happened here, your friend Ostrom comes up with a big box, a yellow box, a dirty, mucky box that's got some sort of says something about air filters on the side, some sort of air filter parts.
Hey! I got this thing, and I think we need to electrocute it because it's a thing, and I think it might be the thing that did the thing to Nate.
Okay, Donovan, if you made any sense of that. It's the thing that did the thing to Nate that might have done the thing, and we need to electrocute it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Excellent. Okay, Pierre, what you doing? If you're talking, you're muted.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I'm asking, is that a critter in there?
Yeah.
So
we gotta isolate it.
He would describe it as probably an extremely long white shoelace.
Yeah. I isolated it. It's in the box now, so it's isolated.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna put a weight on the box, like a heavy, I don't know, heavy bedpan or something to keep the box closed.
Right. He's locked it down. He's locked it down, but yep, okay.
Yeah, okay, it's locked out. Well, we got to identify what this thing is. We really got to ask some personnel who are familiar with the environment. Like, are there agricultural specialists or people out in the field the most who might have seen these creatures the most?
Anyone in the team that just came in would probably be useful.
I asked around the mess hall. They didn't know nothing. Those guys are all dumb.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna have to see about this. I'm gonna first of all put a sign on the box and put it in one of our isolation hoods,
right,
or something like that. If there's a bay for people with contagious diseases, I want to put this thing in it.
Ooh, that's a smart idea.
Okay.
Let me see. Who's my superior? Who would I normally report things to?
Michael O'Hare.
Michael O'Hare? Okay, yep. So
he's not at present in the med bay. He's on his food break, so you might have to call him.
Yeah, okay, so I'll have to call the big guy.
He's a little perturbed. He says, "Are you really sure you need me? I'm just sitting here playing a game of poker and I'm really all in at this moment. He says, sure, can't wait."
Well, I look at the box and it's not rattling or anything like that. So I say, well, yeah, it can wait, but I think we got a case of a local environmental creature captured here, which is getting into our machinery.
Oh, well,
might be dangerous.
It's the thing that got into the thing.
Right,
Yeah.
a thing.
Oh,
We're gonna identify it.
Right, we're going to call it thing.
Identify this thing.
Okay. Well, he says, okay. Well, why don't you put it through some of our scanning technology equipment, sorry, and see if you can't come up with a bit of more detail. And in the meantime, I'll be there in, let's say, 10 minutes.
Okay.
Rightio.
I sign off on the call.
Yep.
Assuming we can keep it in the box and it doesn't change size or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
I've seen those moments.
Yep. So you run some. So give me a medical roll on it, please.
A medical roll on what? On the
On what
feature?
you're scanning. Yep. What you're scanning.
Okay. If I figure this correctly with an intelligence bonus, that's what it would be.
12. Okay. Rightio. You definitely get back it's organic. It basically identifies something as being a long, thin thing, similar to a long shoelace thing. It has a high electrical signature. It seems to ring true with all of the normal various biological signatures of creatures from this planet. And it does in fact, it is active, it is moving. What else can I tell you? There's several biochemical reactions happening. It seems to be what would the word be? Its behavior would suggest to you that it's sluggish and in sort of in a torpor, if anything. Yeah, so sort of like just going to sort of like sort of heading towards sleep, but it's just like, yeah, that's the best I think I can describe it as. It's sort of entering a torpor.
Ostrom would describe it as bitey. A little bitey thing.
Well, we're gonna get to the official, Latin classification eventually. Pain in the buttus, bitus, or something like that.
Guess.
There you go.
Ostrom. Ostromus thingus. Right, so...
Yeah, well, let's hope it doesn't bear Ostrom's name when it kills half the people in the colony.
Well, that's when they might change it to Ostrom's monster. Up to that point, it might be just some purely Latin thing. So after about 15 minutes, Michael sort of pops his head in. He seems to be fairly chuffed with himself. He just says, such a good hand. Anyway, he says, right, show me this creature.
I point to the box and I say there's a thing inside it.
Okay, so you've run some tests. Have a look at those.
He's never seen it before?
No, he's not seen this before. Well, it's a new one. Well, who discovered it?
That would be me.
Well, I guess then you get to give it a name.
Oh, uh,
Okay, how do you spell that?
bitey shoelace thing.
Bitey shoelace thing. Okay. So we're calling it
Yeah.
the 3 R's bitey shoelace thing. Rightio. Okay, I'll just note that in the. So I'll just add all the readings. So what do we do? What have we exposed it to? Seems to be almost in a hibernative state right now.
It got electrically shocked where it was. That seemed to like kill it or part of it or something.
Well, we don't want to kill it just yet. We want to understand it a bit first. So let's get some protective gear on, and okay, Donovan, let's get in there and let's remove it, and let's study this a little bit closer at your hand, shall we? Donovan?
Yeah, okay. So,
Yep.
is that medicine again?
Yeah, well, you're both getting on some protective gear, and you're opening up the box. It's still wound around the servo, but it's a lot more unwound, if you know what I mean. So with some of those, what do they call those things? Calipers, I think. I'm not sure they call them calipers or not, but anyway,
Forceps, calipers.
forceps, the grabby things. Yep. So
I think we need the spaghetti tongs for this one.
Yeah, probably. Okay, so he gets the spaghetti tongs, and he sort of starts pulling it off and starts unwinding it. It does sort of move a little bit, but not too much. And so he's getting you with your free hands to, as he unwinds it, to hold on to more of it, so it's not got too much wriggle room, so to speak. Then over his things, he said, "Oi, you, Ostrom, get into the same gear we're in. I'm going to need your hands in here."
Alright, Ostrom suits up.
Okay, so then he gets you to hold on to it. So in all, you've got around about 3 meters of this thing. So he then, it's sort of still in a bit of a torpor state, so it's sort of not moving that much. He manages to get it over to a specimen bottle. He slowly feeds it into it, and you feed into it, and he puts a cap on it, so so it's rightio, he says. Okay, now we've got it. Thank you. You can take the servo back. Well, hang on, he says. We'll just make sure nothing's in the servo. So he takes it through some more sensors and says, "No, it seems to be clear of anything organic anyway. So if you need to, you can take that back. We'll handle it from here. Thank you. If you do find any more of these things, I would suggest not approaching them. Just give me a call, and I'll inform Commander Keller that we're investigating this."
Okay.
Okay. Rightio, so you go back down. What are you doing?
Let me see. Let's see. I want to check about all the surfaces where that thing has been. With the scanner, did it leave any residues or anything like that? I think I should try to make sure to go over every part of this place when Ostrom came in with it.
Yep.
To try to make sure everything is decontaminated.
Okay, so give me a medical with all your bonuses and that. So they're better of either intelligence or education. Your medical skill. Yeah, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Yep. Cool. Well, you're feeling fairly assured that you've got everything. Ostrom, down in the motor pool, what are you doing?
Probably putting things away and cleaning up and getting ready to uh, like clock out for the day.
Okay. Rightio. Back to Donovan. So you guys are now sort of so here has put in a communique to the commander about what you found and what you're doing. And Ahir is sort of talking to you about, he suspects that this could be some way connected to Nate. Yeah, he just says because that's where TAC 1 is, and that's where these guys were, in the same area. So we might have to, actually says, can you bring up a map of the area? So it gives you the place to do that. And then he asks you to type in a sequence of numbers which basically puts that place into quarantine. No one's allowed to enter it or at all until further notice, sort of thing. So he then gets the creature, it's in an isolation cabinet sort of thing. He opens it, takes a bit of the creature off. It definitely reacts to that. And he starts to analyse bits and pieces of the creature, and he comes back with a whole sort of, it's going to be going for a wee while. So what they find out is that this creature is bioelectric in nature, which is interesting because it's the first time they've found anything like that on this planet. I mean, like everything has an electrical process, but this one uses its electric system differently. It's not just for nerves and the transference of information sort of stuff. This actually uses it as a what's the best way to describe? Not as an attack, but as a, yeah, hard to describe really. Is a, it sort of uses it as a from what you can tell, a sensory sort of, uses it as part of its sensory input system, but also as a, I don't want to use the word communicating because that doesn't make sense, connecting or contacting other things, sort of like a radar, but not quite. So he's there scratching his head. He doesn't see anything apart from that in the creature. It doesn't answer what the problem with Nat's lungs are, the blood-lung barrier. He doesn't know what that is about. This could be totally unrelated. But he gives Donovan a look at the data and he says, can you make any more sense of it?
Something blocking the heart-lung interface, like the blood cells, circulatory system between the heart and the lungs.
It's damaged. Its capacity to exchange oxygen between the lungs and the blood has been diminished.
And if we take microscope samples of lung tissue, if we can do that, it's a big intervention, but if we can do that, does it reveal anything special?
Well, we can show you all the data they got when they did that. Just that some parts of that, for the want of a better description, membrane, just wasn't functioning at normal capacity. It wasn't dead or damaged in that sense, but it was just like operating at a lower level. Yeah, that's all they could sort of that was the gist of what they found at the time.
I was just worried about infection or something from this creature.
Well, at the time, which is like going back about a week or so, they took scanned her body. She didn't seem to have any infections. Her antibodies weren't raised. Her white cell count wasn't raised. There were, at the infection sites, there didn't appear to be any remaining non-native tissue. Yeah, I couldn't really tell you. The only thing that seemed to be prolonged was the damage to this area. So they basically filtered her whole blood system in the hope that, you know, if there was something in there that they couldn't detect, that would be removed.
Okay, and they didn't find anything.
They didn't find any presence of any foreign matter. In her blood after they filtered it, or before, in the infection, well, in the wound areas, I should say, or in this membrane area. Just that parts of the membrane area didn't function as well as they had, and as other parts have been.
Okay, I'm trying to see why a creature would want to attack that area, or what happened to it. I want to see if I can do a cross-check of any respiratory infections or distress caused by creatures that have existed before.
Okay.
And it might be a database search. You might give me a difficulty to that.
Yep, no, that's so cool. Where you go. It'll be a mid-roll because
that's not covered. Still medicine. What is space sciences? I think I wrote down what space sciences covers, but it's not that.
No, I think space sciences is more the astronomic space sciences.
Bodies and things.
I think that's more when they talk about it. I'll just check that out for you though. I think life sciences is the one that you'd want to do what you're trying to do, I think. Space sciences.
Okay, well I'll try medicine.
Yeah. Yep.
Even if it's at a modifier.
Oh no,
give me
sorry.
A negative modifier.
Sorry, space sciences, xenology.
Okay. I thought it was dealing only with energy clouds, but I wrote it down on the sheet just to make sure.
Yeah.
So let me make a roll unmodified. Still the same sort of thing. It's an equal level of skill in space sciences. Did I? Okay, yeah, I had a formatting error earlier, but now it's rolling correctly.
Okay, cool. Okay, you are aware, mainly because of the Hapmalshar, the weird evolution people, creatures, aliens, whatever, that some of your normal science doesn't hold up. So some of the things that might emphasize is the fact that you've got a creature that's primary atmosphere is nitrogen based, It's a bioelectrical creature in the fact that it uses electricity for other things other than what normally electricity is used for, because that the Halpmara, the other race, actually used their hive electricity wide thing as a form of communication. But this doesn't appear to be doing that. This appears to be doing transmitting something else via electricity. You're not sure what. You have this section of the lungs that seems to have a lowered capacity, and it seems that the cellular area in some way has been impaired, but you have yet to find out or work out how it's been impaired. Yeah. You don't really get much more than that, unfortunately.
Okay.
So a lot of information you already knew, but with the just a little bit of more reference to the other race that sort of breaks a lot of conventional science thinking.
I may have to move on from that. I see that Sid has generated a character already.
Cool.
Can we introduce him?
Yeah. Let's have a look. What's his skills? It's mostly combat. Okay.
You're muted, Sid, if you're talking.
Yep. So Sid, I'm going to say that you are in the service, if that's okay. It's I guess the closest traveller thing to it is the scouts, but you're not a scout, and you don't get any training for it. Just that you take on the job, and your job is security. So that's probably why you've been called in at this moment, because you're going to want to know a little bit more about these little beasties and how dangerous they are and where they are. Because up to this point, you guys didn't even know they existed. So we'll leave that there for you to be the security guy. And you can buy anything. If you also go into the Dropbox, there's a thing on cybernetics, but only up to tech level 11. So you can have a look at that too if you want to. So that's why Asher is now on the scene, just as you're doing all this, Donovan. So Pierre.
Okay, let's see.
So yeah, so you're introduced to Asher as the part of the security team, and he's run you through a series of questions about how do we detect them, da 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 da. You can give him some very minimal information about that. It would appear that unless you sort of immediately buy them, they don't have an ability to attack from any great distance. It would seem that removing them from their native environment doesn't kill them, but it does send them into a sort of a torpor, a sort of a hibernative, hibernative. Yes, thank you. I keep on saying hibernetic. A hibernation sense. Yeah. And that they seem for some reason to be attracted to the servos on the ATVs.
Yeah, those handle electrical power and they rotate and create a certain vibration or something.
Yep. So there's an electrical, vibrative, and heat signature. Well, there would be heat signature to them because they move.
Okay. Sounds like love. Okay, well, there's too much that we don't know about this thing, but I want to make sure that it's specimens, alive or dead, should be locked down.
Mm-hmm. Well, this one now
I
is,
put them
yeah.
clearly marked. I marked them clearly with the biohazard sticker.
Mm-hmm.
And let me see what else we can do here.
Okay. Just quickly going back
There's
to
a
you.
way.
Oh,
There's
sorry.
a way to call this into ARC 1 or the main office. I would probably write
yeah,
up a report real quick.
The commander will do that. You just hand it in to Michael here, who hand it on to her, who hands it up to whoever is next in line.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So you can write that up. And so Ostrom, back down in the motor pool. You've tidied up and you're calling it quits for the night. Is there anything else you're doing?
Nope. I think he feels like the smart people are going to handle it now.
One lives in hope.
Yeah.
We can't handle it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't know that though.
Okay. So with that, you guys sort of head off to the mess hall and have something to eat. And tonight's meal, it's Swedish meatballs with noodles. Long white noodles. Yeah.
Ostrom's favorite.
Yeah. Are you eating it or is it eating you?
So you might pick out at the meatballs might go down quite well, but the other, perhaps not so much.
No. I don't think I'll have a. It will
Right.
be about well-known, meatballs
Mm-hmm.
with noodles.
Right. Okay, there's not many people around in the mess hall, but the mess hall could take up to around about, I don't know, about 40 people at a time. So obviously everyone's on different shifts. So after you've eaten, then you've got a bit of relaxing time before you go to put down for the night, and then start the next day. So what are you doing in the relaxation part of the evening?
Well, not playing cards with those card sharps, that's for sure.
Okay.
Let me see my sheet here.
Is Ostrom doing anything?
Not particularly.
No. Eating, going to the barracks and the garrison and just checking under his bed for any loose, lethal shoestrings and. Mm-hmm.
Maybe watch some holovids.
Okay. Why don't they mention these things in the holovids? That's your question.
Well, it's you often find bad stuff in unexplored parts of the world. That's how they found out Ebola.
Yes.
Never ran across it before.
Yep. And thankfully this isn't Ebola.
Yeah. Let me see. You might want to have the great. You might have like a big D100 table of what people do for off-duty activities. Oh, look, I rolled listening to Gilbert and Sullivan light operas.
Okay, that's okay. Donovan, you've found some old tapes that some old data discs that people left lying around. You plug it in, and it's interesting. You've never heard this sort of music before. You're not quite sure what it is, but it's weird and it's different. And you thought you might listen a bit longer.
Okay, so I'm going through old data tapes or data discs, whatever here.
Yep.
Data slots, cartridges, or cards.
Yep. So
just random stuff that they left behind.
Yeah, you're not sure what it is. If anyone from the 21st century was to identify it for you, it would actually be called K-pop. But anyway, yay, K-pop. What are you doing, Ostrom?
Nothing at the moment.
Okay, because Donovan's listening to some hideous stuff that is vaguely called music.
Yeah. Ostrom's probably watching a detective show or something.
Okay, rightio. And then you sort of, at the end of that, you turn in for the night. And that's where we might leave it this time. And we'll see if we can bring
Oh,
some
really?
more.
Okay.
If that's okay with you guys, then we can bring some more people into the issue, and they might come up with some other ideas as well. Yeah, I'll just stop the
Okay.
recording.